Hey, do you really think we need Gen 4 remakes? I personally do, and the reasons why are conflicting in a way, but combined together I think can make really cool games on the Nintendo Switch. Those reasons being, there's a lot of great stuff about Gen 4, but let's be honest, there's some garbage in there. Any self-respecting Pokemon fan that spends any time on the internet at all knows that there's a contingent of fellow fans that spends a heavy amount of time urging Game Freak to make Gen 4 remakes, just like they did with Hoenn. I'm not sure if there are people that did it with Kanto and Johto though. Despite the amount of time I think it'll take, I think they're a given, which is why I want to talk about things that I want to see in the remakes. I'm sure you have things that you want to see. Well, got good news for you. That's what the comment section is for. You telling me what you want to see down below respectfully. You don't gotta get all mad if your opinions don't match up with mine. It's fine. I think it's indisputable fact that the biggest contribution that Generation 4 made to the Pokemon games is the online multiplayer aspects of the games. They definitely weren't perfect, they've since been improved, but they still could use a lot of work to get to where they should be. This is twofold. The online trading and the online battling system could use some heavy tweaks. These tweaks I think should be integrated into the Switch Online app as well as in-game, not too dissimilar from how Splatoon 2 is handling it. I think the system that needs the most work that can be improved in a few key ways, both in ways that are made possible by the app as well as just easy fixes that haven't been made yet for any particular reason that I'm aware of, but they could have. This being that you shouldn't be able to request or receive Pokemon that aren't possible in game. There's no reason why I should be able to request a level 3 Palkia. That just doesn't add up. Along the same lines of that, I'd love to be able to request Pokemon with specific moves that, again, they can learn in game. And to transition to the Switch specific changes, I want to be able to access my Pokemon Bank NPC from that same app and move Pokemon back and forth from there. Mobile notifications for trade listings that fit a wish list for Pokemon you want being traded for any Pokemon you have in your party or PC or Pokemon Bank, as well as notifications for any trade offers you receive for Pokemon you list or have listed. Aside from that, battling online also needs a bit of a revamp. They should establish more of a leaderboard system than what's already sort of there with the ranked and unranked battles. Alongside these additions, Game Freak should add more resources for people that want to get into the competitive scene but aren't as savvy as the people that are on Smogon and all that stuff. Integrate a VGC Championship League. Do a better job of advertising competitive scene stuff, even if those advertisements are a Pearl and Marina style info dump when you get online, but an info dump you can opt out of. I would say make it opt in, but that would defeat the purpose of having something to make people that wouldn't know where to look for it aware of that information. I also think it would be cool to be able to schedule individual Pokemon battles as well as tournaments from the app and in game. I could go on and on about online improvements, but I'd love to know what you'd add. You know the deal. Leave those ideas in the comments. Way before Pokemon Let's Go made a big deal out of it, Generation 4 was actually pretty big on co-op, both within the story, the post-game, and multiplayer with the Underground. I think it would be sick if the remakes really expanded on and merged these concepts together for the remakes. This idea has a few layers and focuses a bit on the Underground itself, which, while cool, wasn't exactly what I would have expected to see if you told a younger pre-Pokemon Diamond and Pearl me that there would be any sort of co-op mode. I would have lost my mind, but in hindsight, their take on local multiplayer co-op isn't really what I would have imagined, and it's certainly not what I hoped for. It's really not even about Pokemon. The Underground was a mini game that allowed you to mine items like heart scales with a friend. No battling or anything like that. But in the main game, as you progress through the story, there's a few distinct points where you team up with an NPC to get through a forest or a cave of some sort. In addition to that, there are opportunities to do multi-battle competitions. As well as combining the Underground and local in-game multi-battle stuff, they should take a few cues from Pokemon Let's Go and let that happen anywhere in the game. Maybe even make it online if they can handle it. Only this time, I don't think it should make the game easier per se. I just think that it would be awesome to journey along with a friend.
The pie in the sky idea I have for it is to allow for friends that join into your game to have separate focuses than you that build up their character for their game in areas that they may not focus on while playing their own. What I mean by that is, imagine if when you are journeying in someone else's game, rather than helping them battle gyms or even taking turns battling gyms, you focus on being a coordinator. Your accomplishments in contests can transfer over to your main game where you could get special bonuses of some sort, or maybe that'd be the only way to compete in contests in an official capacity. Rather than taking that detour in your own game, you can just focus on gyms in the story. But contests are a Gen 3 contribution, so I'm going to save my thoughts on how to change those specifically for a future video, which you should subscribe to see. All you need to know for this section of this video is I think they should rework contests to be a bigger part of the game, a big enough part of the game to be a second quest of sorts. This way you won't be handicapping the battles or changing how they were originally meant to function, all the while giving you a reason to adventure together. You have a separate goal that you can travel and train together to achieve, defeating Team Galactic along the way. Beyond this, I think there should be a trainer class of sorts that allows players to contribute something different to their companions. Maybe I focus on making my trainer a great cook to keep our Pokemon's HP in tip-top shape, while you focus on getting good at making medicinal items like antidotes and burn heals.
This would give the games more depth, because not only do your Pokemon improve, you as a trainer improve. Also, it'll incentivize you to grab a friend or two to complete your journeys together. I want to reiterate that I don't want this to be a handicap. I want any multi-battles that you do in-game to be more difficult, and I want the trainer abilities that you would get to be limited to being used when you're on a campsite, maybe between routes or something. This way, gym battles can stay challenging. Well, as challenging as they've ever been, because let's be real, nothing in Pokemon is really challenging.
Also, you couldn't abuse the new trainer abilities to make the game even easier through cooperation. The option would be for the added fun that comes with playing a game with a friend rather than being a helper mode like the co-op that'll be in Pokemon Let's Go.
Okay, that's all I want to say about all the multiplayer stuff. But what about the single player game? How should that change, if at all?
Well, I think we should really explore the time and space aspect of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. Dialga and Palkia's ability to control space and time could be put to use to explore the lore of Pokemon even more. Imagine being able to see parts of the war, or wars, that have been alluded to forever firsthand, or being able to just see the so-called Sinnoh mythology that Professor Rowan talks about in the Canalave library. Even beyond that, we could get even more glimpses at the lore of the Pokemon world and learn more about where Sinnoh fits in the grand scheme of things, considering all that we know now.
Even without the lore stuff that would require us to travel through space and time, what about stuff like what's Red and Blue up to? Are they in Sinnoh? What's Lily doing? If we don't find that out in 2019's Pokemon game, could we learn about what she's up to in this one?
Will we get any hints at what's next after Gen 8? I think it's very possible. The lore of Pokemon became much more involved with the introduction of Gen 4. Sure, we had glimpses of a bigger picture before that, but I would contend that Gen 4 was where we got our first real exposition dumps in the series. Being able to expand on that lore, given all that we've learned in games that came out after Gen 4's initial release, would make a lot of sense. These remakes could stand to expand the lore even more rather than just regurgitating the same Canalave library lore. Sinnoh remakes are the perfect place to develop the lore even further. Sinnoh's name is derived from the Japanese word for mystery, so it's only right to keep up the mystery, right? Old Sinnoh details aren't exactly mysterious to us anymore.
Along the same lines of using what we've learned since, how about regional variants? Sinnoh's climate and terrain is pretty unique in the Pokemon world as we know it so far.
It's the only mountainous region. Why not bring back the concept of a lowland types but for Sinnoh. A Pokemon that found themselves migrating to Alola eventually adapted to the new climate by changing physically and in typing as well as ability there, why wouldn't they here? So it only makes sense for that to remain true for every region in Pokemon, not just for Alola. Also, to be fair, regional differences aren't exactly a Pokemon specific thing. That's just straight up natural selection and coevolution at work right there. Let's just assume they could become the norm everywhere. We've come up with a few concepts to showcase for you all to get a better idea of what we're getting at. Sinnoh is in part based on Russian islands, so the ideas we have here have some Russian inspiration. The first of which being Arcanine, since he was given the short end of this stick when it came to which Gen 1 darling should receive in Alolan form. This form would be based on the Russian dog breed Siberian Husky. And don't you worry, we're not gonna stick to Gen 1 this time. How about an Ursaring Sinnoh form that looks like it's trying to blend in with Russian men, or a Talonflame that adapted to look like an ice type? And there's even more Pokemon. We went a little crazy and this video's already long enough. So if you want to see more about these Pokemon concepts, things like typing, abilities, all that stuff, there's an article up on our site fanatixfour.com for all the details on these Pokemon.
But those are my thoughts. What do you want to see in the Gen 4 remakes? Do you think we'll get them anytime soon? Do you think it's possible that they'll just be delegated to Let's Go games? Let me know that and more in the comments down below. Also, I'm going to do another comment challenge. What are your favorite gens listed from best to worst from Generation 1 to Generation 7? And when you're done with that, maybe like the video and share it with a friend who can't stop talking about Sinnoh remakes or just really loves Pokemon and can't have enough of any type of Pokemon game. Most importantly, subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of new videos like this every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. If you want to hear us talk about the comments from these videos, subscribe to our podcast channel directly to you, a fanatixfour podcast. We do those every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, that's it for me. See you next week.